Back in 2020, I was scrolling through Twitter and happened upon a tweet that Xseed Games retweeted. It was a 14-second clip of two characters interacting in a game that was still in development called Potionomics from a studio called Voracious Games. The clip was just two characters from the game having a conversation, and that one 14-second clip was enough to sell me on the game. I didn't care that it was still in development, and I didn't care how long it would take to come out. I was instantly impressed with the character animation, and that was enough for me to confidently proclaim, I'm buying this game. And on October 17th, I was finally able to do that. Potionomics is a game where you play as Sylvia, a young witch that has recently graduated from Potions College and is taking over her uncle's potion shop on Rafta, an island created and infused with magic by the evil witch Maven. Maven was defeated by heroes of old, and Rafta has since expanded into a bustling community of merchants and heroes. Upon arriving in Rafta, Sylvia is informed that through inheriting her uncle's shop, she has also inherited his debt that had been accumulated to build and operate the business. In order to pay off the debt, Sylvia sets out to win the potion competition circuit on Rafta and use the prize money to pay off the debt. The gameplay of Potionomics has many different elements such as brewing and selling potions, haggling better prices with customers, and time management that all make up a day of operating the potion shop. As you gain footing in Rafta, you meet characters that you can befriend and romance, and rival potion shop operators that you encounter during each phase of the potion competition. Each week consists of 10 days. The 9 days leading up to the 10th competition day are where you can gather ingredients, brew and sell potions, and interact with the characters around the island. You must brew specific potions ahead of the competition, and haggle to convince the judge that your potion is worth more than your opponent's during the competition. A day in Potionomics consists of 6 total time units, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 2 in the evening. Brewing potions consists of mixing ingredients that each contain various types of magimins. These mixtures will yield specific potions when mixed in proper ratios that can be found in Sylvia's recipe book. Potion quality is determined by the total number of magimins and the balance of magimins that compose the potion. Potions take a set number of time units in order to finish brewing, which can be sped up by adding fuel to the cauldron. Managing time is important. As previously mentioned, you have 9 days to prepare potions for the competition with your rival. Time units are spent by opening the shop to sell potions currently on display, or traveling around Rafta to gather supplies, purchase and upgrade equipment, or build your relationship with the other characters. Leaving your store costs 1 time unit, but the time unit is only spent when you return to your shop. This allows you to go around Rafta without worrying about spending too much time running errands. While you can buy ingredients from a vendor, you can also obtain new ingredients by investing in Heroes Guild expeditions or sending heroes that you've befriended on excursions into monster-infested areas to gather ingredients for you. Heroes can be equipped with potions that you have brewed in order to ensure they get through the entire area and gather as much loot as possible. Health and mana potions ensure that your heroes can battle monsters, while enhancers and resistance tonics can help them find better loot and overcome obstacles. These hero excursions also take a certain amount of time units to complete, which further adds to the complexity of the time management. After the expedition's return, you receive loot in the form of shop cosmetics, cauldron fuel, or ingredients that can be used in brewing potions. Ingredients can also be given to your ingredients vendor, which will allow them to be purchased starting the following day. This is important because even though loot is divided into specific areas, the loot you receive from expeditions is still random. Being able to purchase ingredients from the vendor allow you to consistently obtain specific ingredients that you might need. The other core aspect of Potionomics is haggling with customers to get the most value out of your potions. Haggling exists as a deck building game, where Sylvia and the customer take turns in attempts to raise and lower the price of the potion. You gain new cards by building your relationships with the other characters, and each character has a specific archetype of card that you can unlock. The core mechanics of haggling are increasing customer interest, blocking stress that can be imparted by the customers, and managing buffs and debuffs that Sylvia and the customer can place on each other. As the customer's interest increases, the price you're able to charge for the potion also increases. Cards each have a patience cost, which acts as the amount of time that you can haggle with the customer. There are several different types of customers, and each type of customer has a different amount of base patience, which determines how many cards you're able to play. When patience reaches 0, the customer will leave without purchasing, so you must maximize customer interest before closing the sale. There have been some criticisms about the game, about it being too difficult and not having enough time to be able to explore and experience all of the content in a single playthrough. On launch day, I personally did not experience a level of difficulty in the first and second competition rounds that seemed unfair, but there has been a patch since then that was released to tone down some of the initial difficulty. I personally feel that while there are complexities to the time management and potion brewing, it does feel challenging, but not overly difficult. On the topic of difficulty, in my experience, I was very surprised with how well the difficulty and cost of equipment and ingredients scales as the game progresses. For all but the final week leading up to the competition, I was never in a position where I had a massive surplus of gold, which can be a common pitfall of business simulation games. After all, if it's too easy to gain gold, then budgeting becomes trivial and the game quickly becomes boring. When I successfully brewed the competition potions, I would tend to spend the extra time building my relationships with the other characters, to gather more cards for haggling and learn more about them. I was also impressed with how far into the game you continue to unlock new mechanics. These mechanics introduce new means of acquiring ingredients or increasing the prices of potions. For all but the final week of the competition, a new character, service, or piece of equipment is introduced that assist in brewing the increasingly difficult competition potions. These additional mechanics provide more ways to think about how to spend your gold and more variables to consider to keep the player engaged. Leading up to the release of Potionomics, they released the first initial trailer, and while I was sold on the character animation from the very beginning, after watching the announcement trailer, I was a little worried. Seeing that the game had elements of shot management, building relationships, and deck building, I knew that it was important to nail all of these mechanics in order to have the game feel cohesive. And luckily, I had nothing to worry about. The game remains beautifully executed from a visual perspective. Character animations are incredible, and there is attention to detail that I can't ignore. Like when you're brewing potions. When you click an ingredient, Sylvia gets ready to address the list on her clipboard. When you add an ingredient, Sylvia adds something to the list. When you remove an ingredient, she erases something from the list. I can't not shout out great animation, it's one of my weaknesses. And this is just one example of the fantastic character animation in Potionomics. There are so many subtleties and quirks that each character has that help breathe life into them. Even though there isn't voice acting, the animations absolutely sell what and how things are being said. The deck building aspect is also well executed, and being able to change your deck at any time outside of selling potions encourages experimentation to stay engaged. Stress is also a very good means of making sure you can't just autopilot a deck. As stress increases, your chance of drawing a stress card instead of a card from your deck also increases, which will in turn increase your stress even more. Stress cards activate at the end of your turn if they're still in your hand. This means you have to constantly weigh the option of allowing them to resolve, getting rid of them using other cards, or ending the transaction early to avoid being too stressed for the rest of the day. While stress wasn't particularly a threat leading up to the first competition, it definitely becomes an important factor to keep in mind as the difficulty increases. Luckily, you also unlock additional means of managing stress as the game progresses. While we've already established that I think the character animation is great, I was also worried that the character writing would be lackluster, but I was relieved to find that it was also fantastic. Characters have distinct personalities and speaking patterns that are communicated very well through text and the animations. I've also noticed that there are often nuggets of wisdom that are presented as advice for haggling, but they're also good life advice, which is a testament to well-executed writing. The jokes land more often than not, and the excellent character animations help sell them even more. All of the characters initially present themselves in a particular way, but as your relationship with them grows, they reveal a more rounded character with flaws and desires. Being able to obtain new cards for haggling by growing these relationships also provides an incentive to interact with all of the characters, even if you're personally uninterested in a specific character. The way that the game is balanced and structured, it's obvious that lots of thought and care went into designing the game experience. All things considered, I'm thrilled with how Potionomics came out. While I did encounter a few bugs in the first week of release, nothing was totally game-breaking or significant enough to sour my reception. Also, Voracious Games is still actively collecting feedback and pushing out bug fixes, so the experience can only get better. I can't remember the last time I was anticipating a game this much, and it's crazy to think it was all the result of a single tweet that I happened to see. I highly recommend Potionomics. It's a well-designed package that I think deserves everyone's attention. Thanks for watching, take care, and remember, keep having fun.